Good morning. Let's take a look at yesterday and did spot a pattern which I passed on to you in what is a very difficult coupon to have any trust in. These teams are never going to meet each other. They've got nothing that we statistically can work off. How on earth are we going to work out the relative strengths of a team from Wales and is it Macedonia? That, by the way, was the only 0-0 at half-time and full-time throughout the coupon. That was a good angle. I spotted that one early. We had KUPS 0-0 at half-time, got the goal. Noah 0-0 at half-time, part of the arc, got the goal. Levadia RFS 0-0 at half-time, odds on, got the goal. Ljubljana and Kera Almaty 0-0 at half-time, got the 58th minute goal. So again, if you're strictly cashing out at the first odds movement, that would have been successful as well. It's only the New Saints and Skendia, and to be honest, 5 shots on target throughout the whole 90 minutes for the New Saints. It's not exactly screaming lay that 0-0, is it? But if it was part of that sequence, it's the only one that failed, really. Another trade, and this was just bad luck. Twice I got on Telegram to tell you about St. Joseph's. From 0-1 against 10 men, they started to react as if that 11 players would be their advantage. And they got the 1-1, just as I was talking about it. 1-2. Cliftonville scored the next goal to make it 1-2. That was another angle for St. Joseph's to get in. So from a trading perspective and from an in-play stats perspective, because that's all we have to work off, in-play stats, that was a very good trading match, despite knowing where these teams come from. All about the single trading angle, which was that red card. One tournament which did surprise me in its effectiveness was the Euros. It helps, I suppose, when a team like Germany, when they're opener 2-0, scored an average of 5 goals per game in the previous 4 games. It does give you an element of confidence. Again, this was purely in-play stats led. I don't know much about women's football. I don't even know if there's a FIFA World Rankings as there is for the men's, because that would make our life a lot easier. It would be a gauge for us. German ladies conceded the first goal. There was no panic at all. The in-play stats looked really solid. And off they went. 0-1 at half-time. Straight out of the block second half. They hit that magical 100 plus in the attacking pressure index. And when that happens, normally a goal is quick to follow. Followed up again with that 2-1. I did suggest or hope that you would stay in because that first goal came in the 56th minute. Got the nice win there. You could back a team averaging 5 goals a game at over evens. Very nice indeed. Poland and Sweden, I didn't really look at, but this is the archetypal 1.22, 3-0, 3-1, any other away score. Goals first half, I would suspect as well, if they were true 1.2 favourites, which indeed they looked as if they were. 28th minute first goal from Blackstenius. And in a match such as this, if you were strict on your 1.22s, after 20 minutes is my normal entry point because I've still got 25 minutes of the half to go. We're still expecting a goal. 0-1, 0-2, any unquoted in the half-time score market for the 1.2 shots. That's the go-to. The only problem is trusting the football, not knowing it very well. We don't know whether Poland, you'll have to look really deeply into it. And with UKSoccerway.com looking awful now, this is probably your best place to look just on recent performances. But what we do need, ideally, in these head-to-heads is more of a filter, which is what Soccerway has, where you can filter by competition. We don't want to get involved in friendlies, for example. So I think the Women's Euros, I think there'll be 2 matches a day. This is something for you to put in your notebook, I think. It's a competition which has liquidity and it has readability. If you look at yesterday's 2 matches, went precisely with the market. The second one, absolutely accurate. The market absolutely nailed it. Anytime you see a favourite at 1.25 or lower, you're expecting 3-0, 3-1, any other home score. So let's see if that comes to fruition again on a day where I will not be researching any matches for you for obvious reasons. How on earth do we find out a Bulgarian against the Belarusian side? How do we weigh them up? The markets weighed them up. Ludogorets extremely strong favourite. Zalgiris odds on at home. Odds on at home, Steaua Bucharest 1.04. Again, that comes with its own expectations. Literally 3-0, 3-1, any other home. But 1.04, you're expecting anywhere between 4-0 and 9-0. So if you want a bit of fun with that for a 1.04 shot, off you go. Or, of course, you could lay them. We've seen the Andorrans national side keep England very, very hush for quite a long period of time before England break through. Maybe this Inter Escaldes can do the same against Steaua Bucharest, 1.04. Again, the odds, don't forget, from the bookies for these matches, pure and utter guesswork. Really is. But we've got 4 odds on at home, which is a good trading route, I think, if we can trust it as we trusted yesterday. Don't forget yesterday's pattern with the odds-ons, generally speaking. 0-0 at half-time, did see at least one second half goal in all bar that New Saints match. So that could be a potentially strong angle. And what you can do at half-time is lay over 0.5 goals as insurance and sit on it and try to get lower draw odds. But of course, you're at the behest of an early goal. Norwegian Cup might be worthy of our attention, knowing, as we do, league leaders in the All-Eliteserien, Viking, and league leaders in the OBOS-ligaen, Lillestrom. Playing, I think, another Eliteserien side in the Cup, Lillestrom. They got rid of the last one. They showed up in the in-play stats in their previous Norwegian Cup match, and that's going to be how we're going to be looking at these again. We don't know the mentality of the manager. Do they need a cup run? They're in the OBOS-ligaen. Got to get out, got to get back into the top flight. Is this going to be an unnecessary distraction for Lillestrom or an opportunity for them to test themselves against an Eliteserien side ready for next season? Let's have a look at the Euros. Work our way down. Are there probably 2 Euro matches today? I'm going to have to start highlighting now. Here we go. So we're going to put that at the top. Let's see how we can, or if we can, research these Euro women's matches. And what I would recommend is to read these previews. Because if your knowledge gap, like mine, is absent for the ladies' game, this is an expert writing about it. So off we go. Give that one a good read. Otherwise, uk.soccerway.com. Being refreshed, I will need to get used to the new lookout. It's nowhere near as effective as the previous lookout. But it might offer us something as far as looking at the research. Layout is awful now, it really is. Head-to-head comparison. Well, the head-to-heads will have to be recent. And the problem with international football, sometimes teams won't meet each other for a very long time. The last one was the 1st of December 2023. Is that recent enough for us to look at? Shows both teams to score in the last 3 head-to-heads and the usual Netherlands expectation, even from the men's national side, for goals, goals, goals. So immediately, the head-to-heads suggesting this could be a bit of fun, couldn't it? But we're in the group stage, aren't we? So a 1-0 win, they would take that all day long. You can see these competitions have all been squeezed. I need to look at competitions prior in the Euros, and we don't have them here. This is awful, really. Is this it? I don't know, because I can't read. I don't know who's come up with this nonsense, but they've made a complete and utter balls up of what was a very, very effective research tool for us. We could go look by actual league. So, for example, pre-season friendlies, you could look at Liverpool's pre-season friendly record, and surprisingly strong. That kind of an angle in. What can I get from this? I can't get anything. No point looking at home or away because they're both in neutral territory. We can only look at recent form overall. And there's an avoidance of a draw for the English. Let's just check if there are FIFA Women's World Rankings. Indeed. Now we might be cooking on gas. This will give you an initial gauge now. So I'm learning all the time about the ladies' game as much as you are. England and Netherlands, probable top 20s, I would suggest. Although the women's rankings are going to be different to the men's, aren't they? I'm okay with that. And we're at the UEFA. So England 5th versus 11th. I did say top 20 and I was right there. So there's a certain expectation that comes with England. World number 5. So that's something to factor in today against world number 11. England on that run, as you saw at uk.soccerway.com, of avoiding draws. Is that going to continue today? The Dutch, full of goals ordinarily, and indeed 5 goals in the last 2 matches. Very good result. Look at what the Scots managed against the Netherlands. Now that could scupper our over 2.5 goal both teams to score head to head, couldn't it? If the Scots are keeping a free scoring Dutch side quiet, the English could be capable of similar. So that's something to think about there. Only the Germans really beaten the Dutch. They look to be a very solid unit with that both teams to score pattern again that we saw in the head-to-heads, 4 in the last 6. That's all I can work with. It is an awful layout. This is all squashed. What else is there? Where is the other Euros? Is this the first Euros competition? I'm not sure. So we've got an angle in there. We can have a look at the second match today. Anything to help you, you know, particularly in competitions where your knowledge base is not at its best. And look at this immediately. You can just look at the colour. And we've got an obvious favourite for the competition. Where are they in the FIFA ladies rankings? Les Bleus, 10th only. The Welsh, probably a little bit further down. We can search by country here. So it's the 30th for the Welsh. And they're playing 10th. So immediately we add that to the pre-match odds and we've got ourselves, well, a very, very obvious home advantage, far above expectation, 1.07. As you know, 1.07 equals 4 to 9 goals. That's been achieved here and here. Were these the pre-match odds? And if so, they're in some kind of a format. They're not in a fractional format, are they? Because they don't make any sense to me. 4 to 25 is 1 to 6, isn't it? Or thereabouts. And they are 1.07 today. So that's already franked the possibilities. 5-0. I tend to go for 3 correct scores between 4-0 and 9-0, just for fun. You can do odds, you can do evens, 5-0, 7-0, 9-0, 4-0, 6-0, 8-0. That's the only real way to get some value out of this match. From a trading perspective, you'll be relying on Wales trying to keep it quiet. But as you saw against the Dutch, how long did that last? Well, there we go. That could be the story for today. Trying to keep it quiet in the first half and nearly pulling it off. Were it not for De Donk, fantastic footballing name, donking it to Medema and then donking it again to Palova. So 45 minutes it took the Dutch, and we know the Dutch are free scoring, and we know the Dutch are 11th in the world rankings, very near to France. So we've got a potential expectation that Wales will keep it tight. So you might have an opportunity for that 0-0 at half, 0-0 after 20 minutes, 1-0, 2-0, any unquoted half-time score market, particularly if this 5-0 is representative of the short odds for France. So interesting. That's the only Euros match, I think, the opening match. France against England. Very good result as well, isn't it? Against what is a solid England side, and against Brazil. Both teams scoring as you can see, when they're meeting better teams. Wins to 0 against the lower lights. So we've got a good angle in there. If you add in the preview here, you might get an indication of any potential major injury concerns. If there's a star player, a star forward. Hot stats and streaks. Again, they've done all the heavy lifting for you. 2+ goals scored in each of the last 8. They've scored in both halves in each of the last 4. So we've got that potential. If it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, the Welsh could be packing that defence as they did against the Dutch. Marie Antoinette's playing as well. Is she going to go up for headers? I don't know. Kerry Holland. I don't know any of these players. You might know them. Hannah Kane. Likely to be Hannah Kaned today, aren't they, if 1.07 is accurate and this lot perform to their potential. So we've got some ammunition for what is a far more readable competition than the Champions League today. I can't give you any angles, bar to say we've got 4 out of 4 odds on favourites today. And there was a real urgency, I think, with these kind of sides because of the lure of the money that's involved with the Champions League. If they can just get themselves through a few rounds, get themselves a big boy home and away, fill up the coffers, and off we go. So you saw that urgency yesterday with those 0-0s at half time. And it did occur in odds on favourite matches in all bar one. We might see that again today with those 4 odds ons. That would be what I would be looking for. And I think we'll be playing the Euros from now on. I might not be able to make the 8 p.m. matches, because that is 2 a.m. here. But certainly the 5 o'clock will get my attention with that both teams to score element, I think. The Welsh match will be reliant on if the Welsh ladies are as defensively solid as they were against the Dutch ladies, nearly kept a 0-0 at half-time. Norwegian Cup is very much worthy of our interest as well, with the league leaders and both of the first and second tiers playing. I won't be playing PSG and Real Madrid. Mickey Mouse Cup. Well worth watching, I would suggest, because PSG are going to be a real force again in the Champions League next season. They're just clicking. So a surprisingly interesting coupon. Has some real potential, but it, again, is strongly in-play stats based. Quick look at the tennis as it's getting thinner and thinner. Yannick Sinner, I thought he was out. Didn't he retire the other day? Or am I getting it mixed up with another player? Oh, Grigor Dimitrov retired. Right. That's a pity. I thought Sinner retired after being 2 sets down. Lucky boy. Lucky boy. So, bearing that in mind, that he shouldn't really be here. Shelton, with a clean sheet record in his first 3, and only dropping the 1 set against Senego, could be a thorn in Sinner's side. So, interesting that. I thought Sinner was out. 2 sets down, and then we get an injury. You were assuming the injury to the player 2 sets down. Well, Novak Djokovic has just proven himself against Alex de Minaur, who, for me, is an absolute solid yardstick. He brushed him aside in 3 straight sets. Likely to do similar to Kaboli today, but you know what to do at 1.08 and lower. We've already had, well, this guy should have been one of them in the bag at 1.04, I think, with 2 sets down. So Novak likely to go straight through. Iga Swiatek, Samsonova, don't have an opinion, but 2 near 1.4 favourites, we will see. Interesting that we're getting late in the tournament and we've got a couple, is it Belarusian or Russian players could be motivated, Samsonova especially, who potentially play her fellow teammate a bit later on in the draw. So that's an angle. Swiatek at this stage, layable after winning the first set if the odds are short enough. Samsonova is obviously in form, isn't she? The deeper she gets in the tournament. So a decent enough coupon today. I will see members of FootballTradingProfits.com for a 5 p.m. start, which will be a nice start for one of the Champions League matches. The English ladies against the Dutch, head-to-heads, both teams to score over 2.5 goals. England, the better ranked side, top 5 in the world. Is that ranking going to prove the difference? Reasonable enough coupon, I would say. I like readability. we'll see whether the in-play stats are as accurate as they were yesterday, because if they are, we'll have a good time. So I'll see you at 5 o'clock, and I might just keep an eye on the tennis as well for you. But I tend not to play in these later stages because obviously the cream rises to the top. You're not going to get any weak links at this stage. You're only going to have differences in rankings. Have a great day, and I'll see members a little bit later.